This is basically on reasons why some females want your God given spouse and why some females, or a lot of females, want my God given spouse, Christopher Delgado. And in this, I should talk on or touch on um, females experiencing an orgasm and sex and what is the other thing? Kissing. Okay, why? Well, one reason, I'll start with this. The country of the USA is partly broken, and this may be going on in the Western world or parts of the Western world, but definitely in the USA. Country is partly broken, especially due to wizardry and sorcery going on, right? Um, so you have all this type of hidden surveillance going on, and then they place devices in the infants while they're in the NICU unit, basically to, I guess, keep a recording of things these children will do or say, and even if it means to blackmail them as they become an adult or teenager, whatever it is, to influence their behavior. They put other wizard devices in the people. So um, you would wonder why, you know, you have these adult stores, especially in Florida, where it's like a sex emporium and they have all this stuff and whatever. Um, you don't really see too much of that in certain other places in the USA, but they exist, right? Um, the pornography industry is a big industry. Um, it brings in billions of dollars, and up to now, the USA have yet to ban pornography. There are other things that are put in place, I guess, over the past years, like parental controls. But children can go to school, still see stuff, and still learn from their peers. So, the pornography industry, why are people like having to dress up like some they dress up as an officer? Like some of them, I guess, say sex gets boring. So they put on the maid outfit or the man dress up like the officer and they start to do pretend play or what is it, pretending imagination kind of thing, like an improv thing, and they're acting, and then it's supposed to lead, I guess eventually they have sex. um but why would they do that? I mean, hidden surveillance, and then you have these wizards and sorcerers who are about filming these people, and especially without their consent, and putting them in pornography. So some people, they are aware of it and they just embrace it. Some people are aware of it, but they're not interested in it. Like when the wizard, based on hearing me being led to certain scriptures concerning Christopher Delgado, they started to believe like, hey, there's a possibility that, Christopher and I would unite. So what they got excited about was pornography, because they want to basically put us in pornography if we had sex. So I brought it to the Lord, and I'm led to 1 Peter 4 here. 1 Peter 4:16. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed. Let him glorify God on this behalf. And I believe I did like a video. I posted a video on this, addressing this in the USA. So some people, however way they use it, they can probably try to blackmail people, try to cause them to lose their job. Um, People may feel ashamed, if they're just out there. But basically, this goes on. The wizards and sorcerers and the hidden surveillance in homes or hotels or wherever, and they see a married couple or people who just get together fornicating, and then they get placed into a pornography behind their back. So, some women may want your spouse for pornography, right? That's how it works. I mean, some men, they actually are talking to females to put them, to put the female in a pornography behind her back. Okay, so be aware of that. Why do some females want your spouse or husband? Um, that's one reason. Two, okay, so my God given spouse, he is about 6 feet and he is fair skinned. And so, in this USA too, or especially parts of the Western world, they have wizardry going on, sorcery going on, where um, the wizards in the people who are fair skinned, um, and just in the USA and throughout history, you see that they want an idolization or people to idolize fair skinned men. Um, so, the wizards operate like in a certain way. They put these devices in infants while they're in the NICU unit, um, without their obviously without the person's consent, right? And so they pick and choose, and so racism and sexism goes on. So the men who are fair skinned, they probably have the wizards that have a lot of knowledge, right, about the USA or whatever, or they process things really fast based on what I notice at a certain place and what I experience. And the people with melanin, um, would they'll have a certain type of wizard that's based, look at the BET awards. They want sexual corruption. Bear with me, because the wizard on my devices they're against this, because that's what they're about sex every other way except in God's will or God's way. So they will put devices in the people who are with melanin, and basically want them to be slow, stupid, lacking knowledge. Um, and so you can see a certain form of subjugation and slavery going on due to the wizardry and sorcery and the devices that they place in them. Process things, they're slow with processing things. And they want them to be just sexed out individuals, in idolatry, right? Um, whereas the men, the fair skinned men, they may not be like showing that they're about all that kind of stuff. They may be more composed or looking civilized, as we would say, but their hearts are still far from God, based on what I sought the Lord concerning the country. um, Honoring God with the lips, but hearts are far from Him. Now, that is going on with a lot of people, but there are few people who serve God with their whole heart. Okay, so you have that going on. So it creates like a little, like, it's like that's racism, a schism, right? And it's a lie. It's something made up or man-made to put one over the other, to subjugate one, right? Then when it comes to females, they want the fair skinned females to be treated like, obviously, throughout history you see certain videos and stuff like bimbos, right? Or the females are supposed to not be smart, right? um, so be aware of that, right? So they put devices to basically put one over the other, right? Okay, so Why do they want? Why they might want your husband, especially if you're a brown skinned woman, um, and the woman is fair skinned? They probably have connections, or connection to the wizards who are about adultery, and they feel very confident with their access to hidden surveillance, so they feel like they could break through like a thief and steal. That's another reason. So I kind of experienced that in the house of the Lord with my God given spouse, with this lady that after I was talking to him for some time, um, and we were of the mindset, because we're molded in the, the Western world, to believe that, well, marriage begins once you have a wedding ceremony, or once you go to the city hall and city courts to get married. Whereas the Spirit of the Lord sanctified me and edified, helped me to be edified and strengthened me to know that, when you look into Genesis 2:22 to 24, the way God does it, he brings them together. And once he does that, I mean, marriage begins, whether you have sex or not. So pretty much God brought Christopher Delgado and I together, right? And basically, what attracted me to him was, over a period of time, like about 30 to 45, like, let me say, within a 6 week period, after attending Bible studies. Um, and, Bible study was like once a week, prayer meeting was like once a week, and then you have youth service that's like once a week, and then you had Sunday services and Sunday night services. So um, within that time frame, um, I I didn't speak to him. I listened to him, and then based on some of the things he answered, especially during the Bible study, that's what attracted me to him. Like, oh, this is a person I can have a conversation with. Um, so he, to me, appeared to be wise. Um, but later I will find out that when it came to women, marriage, and this area or department in life, not so wise. He's like a King Solomon. So, because I did seek God, like, if Christopher was or is with Simona or any other woman besides me, how would God feel? Pardon me. And I'm led to 1 Kings 11, verse 9. So in that, you see how God would feel. And then in that chapter, he went off with strange women. Um, and I asked other questions. But this is how one of the reasons, or one of the things that I'm led to by God, that helps me to know, that confirms and gives clarity that he is my God-given spouse, right? Now, he knew about wizardry and sorcery. Simona knew about wizardry and sorcery. I didn't know about it. I didn't know about wizards on devices at that time. But the wizards and sorcerers, the way they operate is like they just want you to go to sex. The way they operate is they want you to do like instant sex, like don't ponder the paths of life, just go. One night stands, I believe they're behind that. Booty calls and stuff like that, I believe they're behind that. So anyway, um, basically, Christopher Delgado and I, we were talking in 2016 under this dating thing. But before God, we were a marital pair. It already began um, in 2016. Um, so um, Simona comes on the scene, and um, basically she shows herself to want him. I tried, you know, my best, but to, show her that, hey, I'm talking to this gentleman, because she sat behind him in the church and I saw her from the choir, but she still wanted him. I mean, he knew that she wanted him. Okay, why would females like her want him? Her personal reasons, I don't really know, but considering him, or she heard via devices how he answered questions during the Bible study, and she knows about wizardry and sorcery, she may feel like very confident to say, hey, I can take her from him and embarrass her, and basically have her marginalized, with the witchcraft tactics that she did at um, the Christmas fellowship in December of 2016, at a time when I wasn't even talking to him, pelting me with game pieces in front of the children and brethren when we're supposed to be working together. So basically, keep that in mind. And then for her to get so emotional like that, um, he had to have done something with her. So they were probably, no, not probably, behind my back doing stuff, talking in some way, or, with him. And I didn't even ask him when he asked me about my virginity. I didn't even ask him about his. Like, I didn't really care about that. And it's just like, I'm 30 some, early 31, 32. I already know, like, more than likely he been there, like, done that. So I just care about doing God's will and going forward, right? Um, so basically, I did, what was right. I went to the pastor um around the 6 week period, and of us, like, I wasn't even talking to him, just being there. And I mentioned to her, I would like to talk to Christopher, but I don't want any drama. So she led me to him. He received me. And then that week we exchanged numbers actually. Then that week we went to Disney World with my aunt and uncle to see the fireworks, right? So we were talking for some time. Members in the congregation knew about it, right? Then, then I guess after I mentioned to him, hey, let's go to the city hall, city courts, and he gave the excuse that his mom and Pastor Francis wasn't in town, so we didn't do anything. Um, he could have still brought it up, um, or we could have still have done it with my aunt and uncle, and then the big ceremony, wedding ceremony, you would have his mom and Pastor Francis present. That did, all of that to be considered, but I, was walking in the spirit. I wasn't wasting time. And he should have brought it up, but within recent years, I learned that procrastination is an issue with him. And then on top of it, um, uh, once we hit March 7, 2017, where he showed up and said, I love you, but I can't be with you. And then we had like I, when it hit me, because the way it happened, and I'll share that with you. In what 2017 on March 8th, then I started to tell him off, and he cut contact with me, right? So God will help me to know within recent years in seeking God about him, forbidding to marry. And then when the wizard would come up with, like, um possibly if he thinks, God's will is boring, because the way he carried on with Simona, um and so to do God's will concerning us, with me, um getting the marital proof or whatever it is, or being with me, um, since he chose Simona in the end instead of being with me, his God given spouse. And he went off into fornication and adultery. So they may think, hey, this Simona, she must have been great, right? Um, so I was led to Psalm 126, verse 5. Basically, if you sow in tears, you'll reap in joy. To sow in tears, you have to pretty much like be a seed in the ground. He that like loseth his life shall save it. You got to deny yourself. Some people don't like that because they don't want to suffer. They don't want to feel uncomfortable, right? Like King Solomon, they don't deny themselves of pleasure. And God also helped me to know that us being separated or not together or not having this proof of marital love like a wedding ceremony, Revelation 18:23-24, because of the wizardry and sorcery, for by thy sorceries nations were all nations deceived. And so the voice of the bride and the bridegroom is not heard. So keep that all in mind. So what about this man? Well, in the Western world, why would people be attracted to him? All right, so God led me to certain things about him, but let's start with 6 feet. Some women find like a tall man attractive. That wasn't what attracted me to him. It's what I heard, you know, him say, and how he answered questions during a Bible study. Not one Bible study, more than more than one Bible study. Um, within a 6 week period. Fair skin, the Western world, the way they do things to, put wizard devices in people. And I think I discussed that. They like to put the fair skin over the people with brown skin, or the men over the women. And so they put these devices in infants while they're in the NICU unit and basically create haves and have nots, um, and marginalizing people, like especially if you're a brown skinned female, subjugation, right? Because there's an issue in the country where um, they're not like minded, they're divisive, and they don't receive one another, and they don't glorify God with one mouth and one mind, right? So that's all like hatred, right? They're doing the opposite of Romans 15, verse 5-7, which God would lead me to, concerning, whatever it is pertaining to the USA. And so basically, with that, and that is also empowered and fueled by wizardry and sorcery with these devices. So let's say this wizardry and sorcery is connected to hidden surveillance. Like you could check in and learn a bit about it from Edward Snowden. And so you may have hidden surveillance within the homes, and then they place eavesdropping devices, their devices within the infants. So they're recording information about you as you go along, whether it's video, hidden surveillance, or tape recordings, whatever it is. So be aware of all this. So if certain fair-skinned women, who basically they're probably more hyped up in the USA or Western world over the people with melanin, because wizardry and sorcery is going on, which makes the country partly broken, um, and not so great. Um, they would feel empowered, especially if they have connections with these wizards and sorcerers, to, I guess, see certain things about a certain individual and come in and take your man, right? Thieves break through and steal. So I experienced that with Simona, but Simona is not fair skinned, but she wanted Christopher, right? Even if I put my hands over his hands and he nodded his head yes, basically he knew why I did it, and she was looking at us and he wanted something to be done, not even that would stop her. And we did that in the house of the Lord, like after a service, to just, and I was moved to do that because I saw her, like she was strategically or sitting behind Christopher when he was in the pews at one point, when he wasn't on the choir, or maybe he was in media ministry, or late to church or something like that. So he picked up that this female likes him. And so when I did all of that, that didn't stop her. She still wanted Christopher. So she will reproach me, disrespect me, and if she can, she took, he went off with her after um, March 7th or March 8th, 2017, sometime during that or after that. And then he was already talking to her behind my back when we were talking in 2016, 2017. So she was very fierce and aggressive about who she wanted. Um, Aggressive about him. The wizard wants to say who she wanted. Bear with me, because these wizards are pro Simona. Um, and there are probably other females that wanted him while I was talking to him, or heard, or whatever. And they probably missed him. Who knows? Um, because prior to me, he definitely had a connection to another female in a certain way. I don't know if it was his first time with that female, or he was very marriage minded with that female, and something happened and things just didn't go in the direction it was supposed to go in. Like something big has to happen for that to happen. Like if you grow up in the house of the Lord, and for most men and young women who are marriage minded, something big has to like happen to separate people who are talking, right? And he did share with me, hey, that something like his before I say this, one of the things he said to me was like, um, this for the whole world to see. So he was very aware, like in talking to me, there's this public connection. And this is before I even knew about wizards and devices. So I'm not saying something like, oh, she's not being reserved or whatever it is. No. So anyway, some female he talked to, and some man slept with her and got her pregnant or something, and that hurt him. And then I shared what I experienced in 2011. But by the time I got to him, I wasn't double minded or bitter or hurt so much or like toxic. God worked on my faith between that sometime in 2011 into 2016 when I started to talk to Christopher Delgado. So I was ready to receive him, but his heart and mind was on a different level. Okay. With that in mind, the fair skin stuff, the idolatry of fair skin pigmentation. Now, embrace the skin pigmentation that God gave you. I believe in that. But with these wizards and sorcery going on, they like to exalt and um, project that fair skin pigmentation or fair skinned men. Um, they they're like the best men or something like that, or the sexiest men or something like that, right? Based on how they do things. Please keep in mind that's idolatry. So some women are molded to say, oh, he has to be fair skinned, he has to be 6 feet tall, he has to be this. That's all like idolatry. The person needs to be in God's will concerning you. And it's good to pray for him to be faithful. So why, these are things. Then you have like, well, if he's wealthy, like, the NBA players, and, basketball wives, some females, they not all of them, but I'm saying like they'll fight another woman who's married to a basketball player because he has money, and they feel very confident to take them away because he has money, and they have connections to wizards and sorcerers who have, like, the eavesdropping devices of the victim, so they can be 2 steps ahead of them. Keep that in mind. um if they know Christopher Delgado based on his videos and whatever they got the drop on him, they'll know that he is not ignorant when it comes to, I'm going to say it, the clitoris. Um, so, with the hidden surveillance these wizards and sorcerers saw, on March 4th, I kept my, what is it, underwear shorts on. He wanted to please me. I mean, he wanted to have sex, but I wouldn't let that happen because at that time I believe we need to have a wedding ceremony first, right? And so he respected that. So then when he moved to, like, move my leg, and I was like, no, he insisted, and basically he didn't eat anything. He didn't have to wipe his mouth. Um, but he knew whatever tongue action to do down there, especially um, pertaining to the clitoris, to give an orgasm. And these wizards and sorcerers would bring this memory back to me